Okay, so you've probably heard of Annabelle, right? And you've definitely seen The Conjuring. We all love those movies because they come with that little tag, based on a true story. But some of the most genuinely unsettling stories don't need a Hollywood budget. So today, let's pull back the curtain on one of England's most infamous hauntings, the terrifying case of the Black Monk of Pontefract. Just picture this for a second. You finally found it, the perfect house. It has everything you've ever wanted. But what if you weren't the only ones moving in? What if something else was already there, just waiting? Well, for the Pritchard family back in the 1970s, that very question became a horrifying reality. They had just moved into their new home at 30 East Drive in Pontefract, England. And this was supposed to be it for them, their dream, a peaceful new beginning in a nice, quiet neighborhood. And what makes this story so creepy is just how normal this family was. You had Joe, the dad, a steady provider, Jean, the mom, a dedicated homemaker, and their young daughter Diane. They were the picture-perfect 1970s family, and that's exactly what made them such a vulnerable target for what was about to happen. That new beginning took a very dark turn, and it happened almost immediately. Their perfect home, it turned out, was already occupied. Their idyllic life was about to be completely shattered by a presence they couldn't see, but one they would soon come to fear. And it all started with something so small you'd probably just brush it off. One evening, young Diane tells her mother she heard a knocking sound coming from inside her bedroom wall. Now, Jean, like any mom would, tried to find a rational explanation. Oh, honey, new houses make weird noises. It's probably just the pipes. Anything to calm her daughter's fears. But here's the thing. Diane was specific. It wasn't some random creak. She heard two distinct, deliberate knocks. That's not a house settling. That feels intentional. And that was the very first signal that something was deeply wrong inside the house on East Drive. And things escalated fast. It went from those mysterious knocks to hearing actual footsteps on the stairs when nobody was there. Then it got psychological, this awful, oppressive feeling of constantly being watched, which turned their own home into a prison. And the final step, well, that was the most terrifying of all. The unseen presence finally decided to show itself. This quote from Diane, it really gets to the heart of the horror, doesn't it? It wasn't just about strange noises anymore. It was this constant, invisible presence that made them feel like intruders in their own house. Can you even imagine that feeling? The fear of never, ever truly being alone? And then it happened. The moment the unseen became seen. One night, Diane is in her room. She turns, and she sees it. A tall, menacing figure, cloaked entirely in black. Just standing there, silently, by her wardrobe. The shock was so profound, she literally fainted. The entity had finally revealed itself. So, after a full-blown apparition, the Pritchards knew they were way beyond dealing with strange house noises. This was something else entirely. They were desperate for answers, desperate for help, so they reached out to paranormal investigators, just hoping to understand what was tormenting their family. The investigators came in and they gave this thing a name, a poltergeist. Now, you've heard the term, right? A noisy spirit. The key detail here is that a poltergeist isn't just a random haunting. It's an entity known for physical chaos, and, this is crucial, it often focuses its energy on a single person, usually an adolescent. And in this house, all signs pointed to Diane being the anchor for the haunting. And look, this wasn't just the family's word against the silence. The investigators brought in all their equipment, and they captured undeniable proof. Their audio recorders picked up these loud, massive bangs in empty rooms. Cameras documented objects just moving on their own. They even filmed a heavy wooden chair sliding clear across the floor, pushed by some invisible force. This wasn't in their heads, it was real, and it was on tape. But the biggest breakthrough, the real bombshell, came from a neighbor. They told the Pritchards a dark, local legend about the very land their house was built on. Centuries ago, a Cluniac monk had committed a terrible crime and was punished by being left to starve to death. His vengeful spirit, they said, was known around town as the Black Monk. So now, with a name for their tormentor and a possible motive, the Pritchards turned to their absolute last resort, an exorcism. They hoped a priest could finally come in, cleanse their home, and just bring an end to this nightmare. But the spirit did not go quietly. As soon as the priest began to pray, the entire house just exploded into a frenzy. We're talking loud, violent bangs shaking the walls, shouting echoing through the rooms, and the temperature plummeting, filling the air with this unnatural, bone-deep cold. The entity was fighting back, and it was fighting hard. And then, in the middle of all that chaos, Diane's eyes snapped open. But the voice that came out of her, it wasn't hers. It was deep, guttural, and chillingly clear. It spoke just 3 words, staking its claim: he belongs here. And then, just as suddenly as it all began, everything stopped. But the exorcism hadn't banished the entity. It had only provoked it into this quiet, watchful stalemate. The poltergeist hadn't been defeated, it had just retreated back into the shadows of the house, waiting. So what happens after a story like this? How do you even move on? The family couldn't live with that silent, lingering presence. The events at 30 East Drive left a permanent scar, not just on them, but on the house itself. The Pritchards eventually did what anyone would do. They left. They got out. But the story didn't end when they moved. To this day, 30 East Drive is known as one of England's most active hauntings. Visitors today report the same strange knocks and fleeting glimpses of a shadowy figure in the dark. And this really brings us to the lingering question at the heart of the whole case. On one hand, you have the compelling supernatural story, the vengeful ghost of the Black Monk, with a clear motive for all this terror. But on the other, you have the skeptical view. Could the immense psychological stress have triggered a kind of shared delusion within the family? Ultimately, the house at 30 East Drive holds its secrets very close. The Pritchards escaped the building, sure, but that leaves us with one final chilling thought. If a poltergeist attaches itself not to a place, but to a person, did the entity ever truly let them go?
If you like this video, please subscribe the channel. Thank you.